How did I produce 87 books, which works out to about 6 books a year, consistently for many years, around kids and a job and life and writer's block and all of the other things that get in your way? Because we all have bad days. We all have days where we're stuck. We all have days where the writing just frankly sucks. And how do you keep going? How do you keep going when someone gives you a really crappy review or your critique partner says, this is a terrible chapter? I get it. It is really hard to stay motivated, especially if you don't have a deadline, you don't have an editor waiting for it, or you're just kind of stuck in your own head thinking, this is crap. I don't know why I'm writing this. This is really, really crappy. We are writers. We are consumed by insecurity, and that gets in the way of the writing. But so does life. So let's start with the biggest roadblock, I think. Guilt, shame, fear of failure, all that crap that's inside you that keeps you from writing. Maybe you wrote and you didn't spend time with your kids, or you wrote and you didn't make dinner and you just ordered pizza, or you didn't write and you feel guilty for that. You let weeks go by, months go by, maybe even years before you picked up your book again. Stop that right there, because all that guilt is going to do is keep you from finishing your book. Our brains are hardwired to keep us from being hurt, and failure is something that hurts.
Ouch!
So what we do is we tell ourselves all kinds of things that get in the way of us writing. I like to stay in shape. I like to run. I like to look good in my clothes, all of those things. But I have 20 million reasons every single morning why I shouldn't run. I'm really tired. It's a little cold out. It's a little cloudy. It might rain. Oh, it's going to hurt. All of those are my brain saying, hey, let's not do this. And even when I start running, I'll get a little twinge in my hamstring, or my back will go, hey, maybe I'm going to hurt.
Ouch!
And I'll have another 20 million reasons to stop, turn around, go back home, scroll through TikTok or something. So how do you get past it when you're not published and you don't have a contract? So you don't have like that star to reach for, you just have a dream. Before I got published, back when I was writing a bunch of books that got rejected, 10 books in 8 years. You guys have seen me talk about it a lot on the channel. I hung motivational quotes all around my office. I had tons of them. I put things like, if you don't finish the book, people can't read it. You can do it. All of these things that just said to me, just get it done. I'm constantly reminding myself of that because it's really easy to get sucked into anything other than the stuff that could potentially hurt. And listen, just because I'm a New York Times bestselling author doesn't mean I don't get rejected.
You're taking this very personal.
It's not personal, Sonny. It's strictly business.
I have a proposal that's circulating around New York right now with my agent, and I already got a rejection. There's like 7 more publishers that could potentially reject me. But just because I've hit a list or I've sold 8 million copies doesn't mean they're like, yeah, we'll buy everything she writes. It's not really how it works. I wish it did, but it's not.
It's not personal, Sonny. It's strictly business.
And not every book I self-publish and put out on Amazon does well. It's just a fact of life that some things hit well, some things don't. Some videos hit well, some videos don't. I don't have a lot of control over that. The only thing I have control over is whether I write and get it on the page and the quality of what I put on the page. That's where your actual control lies. That's the only part of the writing world that you have actual, real control over. How good you do and how often you do it. I know that puts a lot of pressure of you. You don't just have to finish a book. You have to finish a good book, a really good book, because you have to be able to compete with everybody else that's out there. Don't let that get in your way either. You can use that pressure to be better with every single page you write as fear or fuel. You can use it as fuel to study more books, look at how great they are, and try to become just as great as the ones that you read. You can use that as a reason to push yourself a little bit harder, to go over that scene one more time. You can use it as a way to say, I know I can do that better, and then do it. Or you can use it as fear to not finish the book, to say, I will never be as great as this author or that author. I'm just going to stop right here. It's up to you. It's your choice. It's your career. It's your book. It's not mine. I'm not going to be standing over you saying, finish that book. I'm going to be sitting on my side hoping you finish that book, because that means you will put another great book out into the world that I can read. But ultimately, it all comes down to you. The second thing that really helps is having a ritual or some kind of a system that's in place to keep you writing every day. When my kids were really little and I was working full time, I would get up at 4:30 in the morning, and it was tough. And I would write for like an hour before they got up and the world just kind of came to life. Bought really good coffee and had it grind and brew so that I could literally smell it when my alarm went off. And I gave myself little rewards if I did that. I'm a huge fan of Reese's, and so I would have a Reese's for myself if I finished a scene or I finished a chapter or if I got up successfully early all week long. It created this system where I was writing every single day. But then I took it a step further and I printed out the pages that I worked on in the morning and I would take them with me throughout my day so that I could work on them in the little snippets of time that we all have. Because there too, you have a choice. You could scroll TikTok or you could look at your printed out pages and start making hand edits and then go back to your computer at the end of the day and put them in. That for me is the most efficient way of doing the whole thing because it keeps me on task and gives me something tangible to do and look at. So if you set up some kind of a ritual where you say, all right, I'm going to write a page every single morning and I'm going to print it and I'm going to look at it and make little notes and add into the margins and think about what could happen next, that sets you up for success for the next day and the next day and the next day. Third, don't beat yourself up. That doesn't accomplish anything except put you further behind and only add to the pile of insecurities that live inside every single writer. There's days when the writing sucks and days when it's really easy. There's days when you get pages of amazing work and then days when you get pages of just crap that you have to throw away. So when I have a hard day, a block day, I put something on the page anyways, even if I'm not going to use it. Or I change how I'm writing because a lot of times that works really well for me to switch from the computer to handwriting or switch from the computer to voice dictating. And if I'm still stuck, I'll go for a long car ride or a long walk and basically talk my plot out to myself. Nowadays, we all have headphones, so you don't look as crazy as I did way back in the beginning when I was just talking literally to myself. Another way to reboot yourself is to find your favorite passage in your book. Find that paragraph that you're just like, wow, did I really write that? That's really amazing. And if you don't have a paragraph, find the sentence that you're just like, ah, this is perfect. Chef's kiss. I love it. Take that, print it, put it above your computer. Remind yourself that you can write. If you have any kind of feedback from a critique partner or a writing coach or an editor or anything that says, this was a great scene. Oh, I loved this paragraph. Print that out, put that above your computer. Because sometimes the reboot has to come from other people where you're like, oh, yeah, these people said I can write. And you use that to refuel yourself when all those doubts are just crushing you. We put too much pressure on ourselves to finish this book right now. I said that I was going to finish this book by March 30th. I got to get it done. Take that pressure off and go write something else. A lot of the things that I would write when I was in between books or when I was kind of struggling with what I was going to do next ended up becoming books of their own down the road because I would write other genres or I would take a writing prompt and just free write something, anything, and just see where it went. What those do is take all the pressure off of you because you're saying to yourself, I'm just doing this for fun. I'm not doing this for any other reason. There's no pressure on me to finish it, to put it out there, to have it judged by the world and possibly sell or not sell. If you need a writing prompt to use or some encouragement, check out my live playlist because almost every Friday I do a live stream where we write together. I give you guys a writing prompt and I answer all your questions right there on the channel. It's also important to reduce burnout and to reduce the possibility of burnout. There's a lot of things to manage for today's author, and it can be really hard to say, okay, I'm building my brand, I'm building my following, and I have to build the book. If you have to choose between building a newsletter, building a social media presence, making sure you're staying current on trends, blah, 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 all of these things, go back to the words. Because the most important thing you can do is write a compelling, amazing, powerful book that readers talk about. What creates word of mouth is an amazing book where people are like, you've got to read this. This was powerful. This was the most incredible book I've read this year. Most of all, remember that you are not failing. If you don't write today, or if you write a bunch of crappy words, or if you don't write for 6 months or 6 years or 6 minutes, you're not failing. You have a dream, and if you are thinking about your book in any way, if you're watching this video right now, you are moving towards writing that amazing book. Just because you have a crappy scene, or just because you struggle with writing dialogue, or just because your male characters aren't coming across as believable, all of those things are normal and natural and something we all struggle with. No author in the entire world is good at all of the parts of writing a book. None of us. So struggling is not failing. Struggling is another step closer to success. Worry about the words that are in front of you right this minute and just making those words the best that you can. So let me know in the comments, what are some of your tips for dealing with burnout or writer's block or any of those things that can get in our way? Do you suffer from insecurity, fear of failure, all of those things that can get in your way? Let's build a community here where we're all lifting each other up and reminding each other that great books are possible. Come to a live on a Friday, get a little encouragement there, or take one of my classes, or just watch this video here about how many rejections I got before I finally sold my first book. It'll make you feel better if you're struggling right now. You're not alone. You're not a failure. You're a writer.